Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Swagatam Suswagatam.
So today we have special guests again. Sri Radha Gokulananda, who we've been serving and taking shelter for the past year. I mean, we could have gone to the temple, but anyway, just stand in front of the photo. It's not different anyway.
Yes.
Alright, Canto 4, Chapter 11, Text 32.
And I think, if we're not mistaken, today we're going to be finishing the chapter. Isn't it?
Alright. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Alright, text 32. A person who desires liberation from this material world should not fall under the control of anger, because when bewildered by anger, one becomes a source of dread for all others. Purport. A devotee or saintly person should not be dreadful to others. That's a nice quote. Nor should anyone be a source of dread to him. If one treats others with non-enmity, then no one will become his enemy. There is the example, however, of Jesus Christ, who had enemies and they crucified him. The demoniac are always present, and they find fault even in saintly persons. But a saintly person never becomes angry, even if there is a very great provocation.
Proclamation.
So, in the previous, if you remember, Prabhupada says we can get angry, but now he's saying we can't.
What do you mean in the previous he says we can?
Yeah, he does. He says you can raise your hood.
Oh, yes.
He should not
forget. He says becoming angry with miscreants is quite appropriate.
Right, so now we're not allowed to. So that's been a week since the last reading, so I wish someone had told me before that. I'm just joking. But anyway.
Interesting. And also Prabhupada gives the example of Jesus Christ. Of course, we just celebrated Christmas not long ago.
Oh yeah, how appropriate.
But if we had been reading maybe a little bit quicker, we could have read that purport.
Yeah, so that means if I can just say what I need to say instead of
Okay. But he says if one treats others with non-enmity, then one will... What? Were you saying something?
Yeah, I was going to comment on what I just read, because that's how we do it, isn't it?
Well, I thought you had already.
Oh, no, I hadn't had a chance, no.
Wait,
sorry for this domestic, everyone. But... Lord. So the point I was going to make is how Prabhupada is stressing, and the verse is stressing that one should be extremely tolerant when provoked, which is a very high bar and standard, and by which we can determine and by which we can determine how far we've progressed or not really, because we can see if we flip the lid, as it were, those of you who now know, very easily. So yeah, I mean, it's quite an extreme example of Jesus Christ, because, well, I was going to say his name, but I better not, but come on, that's like an extreme example, and you have a right to actually be annoyed with the people that do what they did to Jesus Christ, without me going into detail what they did to him. You've got a right to be annoyed, quite frankly. So, yeah.
But it was all the pastime of the Lord, specifically for the glorification of Jesus, and had Jesus not died on the cross for the sins of everybody, then people wouldn't have been liberated by his sacrifice. So it's a real difficult one to understand when something that seems bad is really bad, and when something that seems good is really good. Right. You know what I mean? Text number 33, right? My dear Dhruva, you thought that the Yakshas killed your brother, and therefore you have killed great numbers of them. But by this action you have agitated the mind of Lord Shiva's brother Kuvera, who is the treasurer of the demigods. Please note that your actions have been very disrespectful to Kuvera and Lord Shiva. So it's interesting, it's like no action goes without having some effect on others, or there's a famous saying that no man is an island unto himself. Purport, Lord Manu stated that Dhruva Maharaj had been offensive to Lord Shiva and his brother Kuvera because the Yakshas belonged to Kuvera's family. They were not ordinary persons. As such, they have been described as Punya Janan, pious men. Somehow or other, the mind of Kuvera had been agitated, and Dhruva Maharaj was advised to pacify him. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, like you said, first Prabhupada said, don't get angry. Then he says, get angry. Then he says, don't get angry. Then he says, don't get agitated. Then he says that Kuvera was agitated. So, it just goes to show that it's not easy to control the senses and the mind. Carry on.
Text 34. For this reason, my son, you should immediately pacify Kuvera with gentle words and prayers, and thus his wrath may not affect our family.
Simply motivated.
Yeah. In our common dealings, we should maintain friendship with everyone, and certainly with such exalted demigods as Kuvera. Wow. Our behavior should be such that no one should become angry and thereby commit a wrong to individuals, families, or society. Well, that's true. It's not nice to be on the receiving end of someone's anger, and it's not nice once we have been angry. If we're honest, we do feel pretty rubbish about it, because it's such an out of control emotion. You just let it out. It's like a monster, and it's like you gotta feed it. So either way, it's not nice. And so, but it's interesting what Prabhupada says, in our common dealings we should maintain friendship with everyone, and certainly with such exalted demigods as Kuvera.
I thought he was going to say devotees.
Yeah,
but
it's pacifying
but
the
there's
demigods.
in one sense they are synonymous. Devotee and demigod. Prabhupada says everywhere demigods are devotees. So yeah, I get that. Well, a couple of things. One is that if you do treat someone inappropriately or incorrectly, then it's important to pacify them after and try to rectify the situation. I think it's Raghunath Das Goswami who offers 1,000 or 2,000 obeisances every day to everyone he sees. He offers obeisances, and I remember one senior devotee saying to me that there's no harm to apologize and offer obeisances to another devotee. You can't do that too much. Now, if you're just being pretentious, then that's a different thing, but if when you see a devotee you genuinely think Jai Vanchakalpatubhascha, and you show that. So that was one thing. And the other is that this point about of course we should be extra respectful, I guess you could say extra respectful. Of course, a lot of this has been hinging on that there aren't any friends or enemies, so in that sense you kind of flatline everything and put everything in this neutral category. But at the same time, if someone is actually holding a position of a demigod, what to speak of the demigod who's in charge of all the finance, the finance minister of the demigods, Kuvera is the treasurer of the demigods. You hold such an exalted position, it's good to treat someone who has been given such a position respect, because that's proper culture and etiquette, like that. Okay, so now text 35, and this just so happens to be the last verse of this chapter. Thus, Swayambhuva Manu, after giving instructions to Dhruva Maharaj, his grandson, receive respectful obeisances from him. Then Lord Manu and the great sages went back to their respective homes. Okay, so all this ruckus was going on. Dhruva Maharaj is like unleashing all fury upon the yakshas. And Swayambhuva Manu comes along and says, hey, take it easy, chill out, little philosophy, little etiquette, little introspection, understand the situation here. You're a pure devotee, Dhruva. You know, you don't need to do this. It's not really your brother. They didn't really kill him. It's the modes of material nature. And by the way, you're upsetting Kuvera and Shiva, and that could be a very disturbing thing for you also. Better to be tolerant, better to not be agitated. So please make amends. Let's settle this up, okay? Good, thank you. And then he rolls out. So, I always think that although we may criticize it, but it is good to have a senior person around who could just come into the situation and explain, no, it's not like this, not like that. That people accept. The challenge in the modern day, actually, is that nobody really wants to accept authority. And I know we hear about that being prominent in the 60s, but I think to some extent there was still some appreciation for authority. Now it's like authority literally means enemy almost. And any way that we can undermine the authority, the chosen quote-unquote authority, and we can situate ourselves as the authority, well then, that's success. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Swayambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting. And also interesting because Krishna, he advised Arjuna to fight. Swayambhuva Manu is advising Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting, to not fight. Okay, so I guess we'll finish there as we've concluded the chapter. Yes. And next we'll be doing chapter 12.
Yes.
And the title of chapter 12, drum roll please.
Oh, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead.
Wow, it's exciting, wasn't it? Yes, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Okay, so sounds like exciting chapter to me. We can find someone going back to Godhead and read about it. Great. Okay.
All right, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. I hope your New Year's resolutions are going well. Let us know if you did make any.
New Year's revolutions keep.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Hari Bol. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.